So I actually haven't skipped my foundation for today. I just don't look like I'm wearing a whole lot. And that is the point of today's tutorial, is the no makeup look. And I will show you how to do it with this little tool. This is a dual fiber or stipple brush. And stay tuned if you would like to see how to achieve this look. So besides our usual mineral foundation, one of the superstars of today's tutorial is this brush. And for those of you that may be a little old school and know a little bit about mineral makeup and before, this is a dual fiber brush, or some others will call it like a stipple brush. So the nice thing about it is when we were doing the other tutorial with the kabuki brush, and it's like this was actually retractable. The great thing about that is if you are somebody that needs like a lot of coverage and you want to do it in a quicker amount of time, that is the perfect brush to use. However, if you just want just like a light touch, you may just be going out for errands, sometime, like going to the store or going to the bank, simple things. And you just want really like some light coverage. So because, isn't it true that anytime you go to like the grocery store and you're looking your worst, that's when you run into everybody you know. So it's always good to wear just like a little bit so you don't look completely washed out. I believe that you are absolutely beautiful no matter what, but there's something about that self-confidence that builds when you can just do a little bit more to help yourself feel more confident. But I do like using this because it gives much lighter coverage. And if you're somebody that has a hard time getting a hang of putting it on without caking on too much, this is a great brush to start with. I think it's probably more foolproof. It kind of forces you to put it on a little bit more gently, a little bit more in layers, in the thin layers that we always emphasize. And unfortunately, as I might have mentioned, I don't know if I did or not, this brush is no longer in stock. MAC, I think, completely discontinued it. I did some research on it. It seemed like the brush was discontinued because I think some of the new foundations that are coming out, they were wanting thicker, denser brushes. And, that's fine. I know that there are some that still make it. And I think one of the ones is e.l.f. I think they have one called the domed stipple. And that one's at a nice, affordable price range. I actually looked up some other ones, and I don't even know if any of the other ones carry it anymore. I clicked on some of these links, and they all turned up dead. So that is one. And then I know that at my store at Adorned with Grace, at the time of this viewing or this airing, I am still selling one that's like a dupe of it for a fairly reasonable price. And it's not quite to the standard, I guess, like of the MAC. You can see it's a kind of a bigger head, but it has the same principle. So, you really don't necessarily need the bigger one, but I feel like it actually does the job still pretty well. So the explanation with the stipple brush is you can see there's like the black fibers here, and those are shorter. And then you have the white ones, which are longer. And also, I believe they're supposed to also be a little bit thinner. And what it does is, and you can see how there's like spaces in between, so that when you put it on, you've got like the spaces so you're not putting on all the foundation. Like if you just have like my flat top, my trusty flat top, you have like a whole bunch of minerals usually loaded onto each bristle. Whereas this one, if you load it correctly, it should only appear on the white bristles because you're not going to be like mashing down like you did with the kabuki brush. Okay, so again, let me start. I wear the Grace 4.0, so if you feel like you're a similar skin tone to mine, definitely explore wearing that one. And as usual, I go ahead and just tap a very little bit. This is one of those that if you're definitely wanting a light coverage, and I think even this might be a little bit much, but it's, again, hardly anything. So then you take this, and instead of like mashing it in, a lot of times you just lightly tap like that. And then you can see about how much is on there. You can swirl just a little bit more, but make sure you're not pushing. You're basically just loading the bristles with it. Okay, and I did prime my skin and moisturize my skin beforehand. And with this one, unlike the kabuki, you're not going to do necessarily the swirl and tap and buff and all that. When you first put it on, it's more of like a stipple. like that. So that gives you a nice natural coverage. And same thing, and there's still plenty of minerals. In fact, like I said, I think I got too much on there. You see a little bit of cloud there, but I think part of it is just the way that I'm doing it, because when you swirl, you tend to contain it, but when you do the tap, it just taps up a little bit. So, you know, one of the things is when you see that cloud of smoke coming, just kind of hold your breath. You don't really want to breathe those in too often. It's not really, you know, good for you to do anything like that. But yeah, and you just like stipple, and just enough so that you feel like you're getting some coverage. So it might take a few passes to get like where you want it. But you know, again, this is supposed to be more for sheer coverage. It's not something that you're trying to completely smooth things out. You just want to even out some of your skin tones. Okay, and so one of the things that I learned from last time is, since I'm having to look really at the camera and I have a mirror behind the camera, I did bring like a little compact just so I can see about how it looks. Oh, and then there's like a little brush there. So I'm using this to help me see if I'm putting it on right. And it actually looks pretty good. So, oh, this one is shedding a little bit. The MAC 187 is. So unfortunately, that is what happens with some of these like different stipple brushes, just because of the way I think that they're cut. Okay, so what I am gonna do, I like to cover up some of my dark circles, because that's one of those things, you know, I was talking about them before, that I'm famous for them. Well, it's famous for me. I don't know if you guys talk about my dark circles when you watch my videos. I mean, it may be famous by now, but I've always had them. I have a picture of me when I was in kindergarten, my school picture, and I look like I was out drinking. I mean, you know, staying up late the night before, which of course I wasn't. But it does, you can see like the darkness of my under eyes there. So a lot of times I just do like a little bit of my foundation. I'm using my mirror here to get a little bit better look there. But, and then like any other spots, sometimes I will go, like we were talking with the flat top kabuki, it's harder to get those smaller areas, and you can actually take a smaller brush like this if you feel like it didn't cover, because this is where I tend to have some unevenness. I think when you get a little bit older and your hormones are a little bit different, you get a little hyperpigmentation, sometimes a lot. And the biggest thing on that is wearing your sunscreen. And I'm going to have another video where I will talk about like skin prep in general, because for any makeup to look good, not just your minerals, you have to have really pretty good skin. I mean, you think of it like a canvas, right? So, but I think that's going to be another important video that we'll do. Okay, so I think this actually looks pretty good. I do want to do one more pass of the makeup. So let me just tap a little bit more again, not a whole lot. Watch me. That's the thing, that's these sifters, sometimes it's hard when you already have like a lot on there. It's better if you can get the ones with the rotating. I just happen to be using an older jar of mine. So that's about what I have. And again, you just lightly tap and you can see the color that's on there. And then you just do that again. And that's pretty much all there is to that. It's a lot quicker. It really would take a lot quicker if I'm not trying to explain. So when you're doing this at home and you've practiced it, it shouldn't take you more than like a minute or two to put on your makeup. Because again, this is like a no makeup look. So you shouldn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Okay. And as far as eyeshadow, what I usually do is, because, you know, my eyelids tend to look a little bit darker sometimes, especially like here, it's almost like I have a natural eyeshadow already. And so I like to lighten it. Now I am working on some more matte eyeshadows, or at least I like the semi-matte. I don't like when it's too matte, because to me that looks a little bit chalky. And so what I'm doing for this one is, Adorned with Grace, we sell like these little baggy samples so that when you're trying to figure out the colors you want to wear, I have them for the powder, for the foundation, the blushes, and the eyeshadows. This is like great just so you can try out the colors, and a little really does go a long way. So it doesn't seem like much, but they're really helpful when you're trying to decide on your colors. So I just use this, And then I will take my eyeshadow brush. And again, this is like just a regular flat shadow brush. And I think this one's called a large chisel fluff. I may have a few more of these on my store. I'm discontinuing a lot of the brushes just because I am switching. These were cruelty-free brushes, but I prefer to use the vegan brushes. So yes, I have this, and I just, have that. With this one, you can't really do since I don't have a jar. So I just mix it on there and I just try to tap inside. And then I am going to use my compact again so I can see. This one does have a nice magnifying mirror, so I can do that. Maybe get close to you guys and you can see. And I'm using Grace 3.5 because I do wear Grace 4.0. So this is like a nice lighter shade that I can wear that I think will brighten up my eyes, but it's more matte. I did one for the summer look and it still had a little bit of sparkle to it. And for a no makeup look, I prefer not having the sparkle because this is supposed to just look like my natural, colors. And of course it has to be. And Adorned with Grace, we have more of a satin semi-matte finish, okay? So you can see the difference. I think like the other color, Brilliant, it just really brightens up your eyes. So nobody telling me that I'm tired later, right? I know people mean well, so you just have to understand that usually when people say, oh, you look tired, they're usually concerned about you. I don't think they're trying to be insulting. At least most people aren't. And then let me try this one again. Okay, so just, again, when you put on eyeshadow, you just tap. And that also helps with fallout. So that's what I do, and I think I might need to add just a little bit more on there. So I get my little baggie again. I put that on. So I'm sorry, I know I was watching myself in some of the other videos and I know I'm looking down a lot, but it's because I have all my stuff here. I probably need to get a table that maybe lifts my eyes out, but I'm still going to be looking down trying to check because, unless I get to where I memorize where I have all my stuff, it's really hard for me to have eye contact with the camera. But I just do this with the eyeshadow, just lightly tapping. Okay, I feel like that looks pretty good. So we'll just let it sit there for a second. I do like to always go over it with like a fluffier brush and just try to whisk away anything that may seem a little extra in there. Okay. All right, there we go. So I do like that look. And as far as for the crease color and blush, what I'm going to do is, if you're trying to look like you have no makeup, or I don't know because I know without makeup, I don't have like a natural brightness. Some people do have like a little bit of red to their cheeks. That's not me. Mine just has like more shadows. So I'm using one of my favorite colors. I like to use it both as a bronzer, and if I ever do desire to contour, it's a color called Bold. And I feel like it's a pretty neutral brown, so I think it would work great on most skin tones that are like medium. And if you're like lighter, one of the tricks that you can always do is mix a little bit of your foundation with a darker color, like, Bold, and you can have something that might match your skin a little bit better. But that's, the secret there. So what I would do is I get my round contour, like if I'm just wanting to do something like on the crease. Again, this is like the shape of it, just nice and round, so you can get more direct application on it. And then I get my color Bold, and if you can see it, this is what Bold looks like. I think it's a really pretty, just, neutral, kind of, it has some golden tones, I think, but there's not a whole lot of red in it. And that's why I do like it, because I think the red ones almost turn orange on me, and I think most other people, because if I have like some yellow tones under my skin, so if the bronzer's on the red side, what's yellow and red make? Yeah, they make orange. So this one is not quite as red as like some bronzers, but there is a bronzer that I do like that I use, but I use it as a blush. I think I used it for one of my, I think it was my 10-minute reel I did for Instagram, and it's called Striking, and it has like some nice red tones, but it makes a great blush for me. Maybe not so much a bronzer. Okay, so this is like what I have on there. I did the tap. And this one I will just put it like around my crease because that's where I have some of the darkness. And you can see I'm going a little bit higher up. I'm not going all the way down because I don't want to highlight like where I have like the hood in my eyes. And sometimes I'll just bring it down that way. And then you can also like bring it down this, because one thing, I'm not going to wear any eyeliner. What I'm going to probably do is take time and put on some mascara because I don't want it to look too much. And then here, I'm going to do this. Sorry, I don't want to block. I'm still learning, guys. Okay. Do like that. Sometimes this magnifying mirror, like if you don't get close enough, it blurs everything, and I may as well just be looking at myself. But yeah, just kind of do that. Okay. And then for the blush, and again, this is a stipple brush. This is a smaller one. This is one I have a bunch of these brushes, and you can use this for foundation too. It might take you a little bit longer, but it would be great like when you're going around those areas that are smaller. So you can always go back and forth from like the regular bigger one to this one when you're doing foundation. And that is like what I do. So this is the color Bold, and I took the sifter off because I really wanted you guys to see the color, and because when you tap it on there, it is better to have the sifter on. You don't get quite as much, but I just do the shake. I tap from there, and hopefully most of that gets off of that. And so what I think about, since it's like a bronzer, I just think about where the sun hits my face when I'm in the middle of it. And so a lot of times it is just sort of like around your, here, like that. I don't know how much that's showing up, and I know it tends to hit my forehead some. I do like the contour here. It just gives that emphasis. Like I actually have a pretty decent jawline still, but I like to emphasize it some that way. And I think I could use a little bit more. And that is the thing. I would much prefer having to go over it like a second time than add too much at once, because it really is harder. Then you have to use, like, if you feel like it really is too much, like you have a really pigmented color on there, then you may have to use like micellar water to take that off. And that's just a pain because you already have your foundation on. You may have to reapply the foundation, and then it messes up the evenness of it. So I prefer to go ahead and just do it in like light layers first. See, cloud of smoke. Put on way too much on there. So I don't think I remember to tap, and so let me actually refer back to my mirror here and just see how this looks. And do this side. Okay, now in real life it actually looks good. And here on the camera, I think it looks fine. But I like for you guys to see what I think it also looks like in real life. So there we go. And then just kind of lightly doing that. But yeah, I just think about wherever does the sun hit me, and it gives you just some nice color. So it's, our faces aren't just like a one-dimensional color, right? We have different shadings and things. And that's why when you draw a picture, if you paint a picture, unless you're a kid, when you're coloring with your crayons, that you can tell it looks one-dimensional when it's all the same. But when you see those paintings that almost look like photographs, it's because they've taken care of like shade and light and dark, and that's how you want to do the same thing when you're making up your face. So yeah, and so I like this. And the other thing that I do is I like to fill in my brows. And so the color that I used, if you can remember, is a color called Genuine. It's one of my favorite eye colors to use for filling in your eyebrows, because even though they're dark, you can tell they have like some sparseness in some areas. And so this is one where I dip it in. Again, I have the cap off just so you all can see the color. And I think it's a color that would probably work for most of you guys that want to fill in your eyebrows. Guys, I feel so bad. I don't know if you can hear it. I have 2 dogs, and I have to keep them upstairs when I'm doing the tutorials, because otherwise they might be barking. And they're really cute. I may have to do a video one day where I let Thor, or my girl dog, probably more my girl dog, Lady Sif, to maybe pick my makeup. Try to figure out like, oh my gosh, what are they going to pick for me? That would probably be fun if you guys think you'd like to see it. So this one, I'm not going to necessarily use my mirror. I think I can do this from far away. But yeah, I hear them. They're scraping, especially my girl dog. She gets separation anxiety really, really bad. But I had to put them up because I started the video and then they heard some birds and just started barking. It's like my little girl, she loves birds, unfortunately. When I say loves birds, like she likes to catch them. And yeah, not my favorite thing. So, okay, I just fill this one in. All right, I don't know if that's enough. I kind of want to do just a little bit more. Just looking. Okay, so that's what I like that. And the next thing that I'll do is, I think, you know what, I heard something drop earlier. I think it was my lip balm. So let me kind of transition to that. I may have to pause and go get it. So this is my Nourishing Lip Balm. And I do put it on beforehand so that the minerals have something to grab onto. And you know what? I forgot my lip brush again, but that's okay. So the color that I'm going to use for my lip color, it's a color called Passionate. And it is a blush. This one is like a bright orange blush. I mean, it's definitely scary. If you're cool toned, I don't know that you would like it very much. So compared to the one that I did, let's see, the one that I did for the summer look, that one was definitely more of a neutral peach. So you can see the difference in them. So this one is vibrant and this one is passionate. So this one definitely works better for warm skin tones. So if you wear Adorned with Grace, that would mean probably like the colors of hope, kindness, maybe love. Love might be a little bit too yellow for it. I think it could still work, maybe just in light amounts. And then grace. It definitely works great with people that wear grace. I don't know how it would do with faith or peace, which peace, that's a very neutral color that I have. But this is one that I like for my lips. And so it's one I'm just going to dab on because I want like a nude, kind of a nude peach. And I had a lip gloss that actually turns out kind of like this when I put it on. I'm almost out, but it's not a natural lip gloss. It was one that was given to me by a makeup artist. And she was one that I took a lesson from because when I started back with Adorned with Grace, it's like, I probably need to learn how to at least put makeup on myself. I can't say that I could do a great job if I try to put it on you. What I can do is like recommend colors, and I'm always about like looking natural. You probably will see some transformational videos occasionally here, but most of it's just like enhancing what you already have. And that's what I'm really good at. Okay, so I may just take a break real quick. I will curl my eyelashes and put on some mascara and then bring my hair down, and then you can see the final look. It was just enough to make a difference. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.